Today's episode of The Mom Game is brought to you by our friends at Gateway Buick GMC at LBJ and Jupiter. I know that buying a car can be stressful, but not at Gateway because their slogan is Gateway's Got It. And just what does that mean? Well, it means Gateway's got a wide selection of new Buicks, GMCs, and GM certified used vehicles, all competitively priced. Gateway's got it. In these busy times, you want a dealer who makes things easy and convenient. Well, guess what? Gateway's got it. When you log on to gatewaybuickgmc.com, look for the Shop, Click, Drive button. This allows you to shop from the comfort of your home, and who doesn't want that? In fact, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. 1, select your vehicle. 2, create your offer. And 3, schedule your delivery. On top of all this, Gateway Buick GMC offers complimentary car washes for life. I can attest to this one. So when you want a dealer who has it all, Gateway's got it. You can find them online at gatewaybuickgmc.com or shop in person at LBJ and Jupiter. GMC, we are professional grade. Experience the new Buick. And this episode of The Mom Game is also proudly brought to you by the McCoy team at Affiliated Bank Mortgage. The world around us is crazy and unsettled right now for all of us. So whether you're wanting to stay put in your current home or wanting a change of pace, the McCoy team is here to help. Getting pre-qualified before you are ready to sell and or purchase is always the first step in the process. Interest rates are at an all-time low, which means now is the perfect time to buy or refinance. There are a lot of mortgage companies that will sift you through their automated processes, but that's not how the McCoy team operates. When you call, email, or text Mike or his team, you'll get an actual human on the other end, answering your questions and setting you up with honest guidance. I know because I live with the man and he is constantly on his phone. Mike and his team operate in full disclosure, much like me, and will get you prepared for any purchase or refinance. Here's the deal, though. He is not going to get you in over your skis. If you can't afford a new purchase or refi, he is absolutely not going to recommend it. I know it may sound cheesy, and I know I'm biased, but my dude will take care of you. So will his team. This is their thing, and they take great pride in it, and I am proud of them for that. So give him a holler, 817-987-2200, or schedule a free no-obligation consultation at McCoyTeamMortgage.com. FDIC insured, NMLS number 402132, equal housing lender. Give him a call, y'all.
As you all know, we love to enjoy some vino here on the Mom Game, so we're very excited to have another sponsor, Noble Vines, back with us for a couple of shows. Easter is just around the corner. So as you're planning your Easter celebration, don't forget about Noble Vines. Every good celebration needs some wine, right? It's got to be Noble Vines. Noble Vines wine aims to bring out the best in wine and in people, and we all need that, right? Their vine stocks originate from highly coveted vineyards in France. Selecting the best of these vine stocks and cultivating them in California has earned Noble Vines that quality reputation. Noble Vines 337 Cabernet Sauvignon, with its rich, full-bodied style, aromas of cherry and blackberry, and suave tannins. How good does that sound? That's one of my favorite Noble Vines wines. They invite you to play it forward. Noble Vines is a proud supporter of Operation Rebound, and this is another thing that makes Noble Vines so cool. It's really good people that are always finding different ways to give back to the community. So you can have your wine and know that you're helping a good cause too. Operation Rebound's mission is to strengthen the mental and physical well-being of veterans, military, and first responders with permanent physical injuries by providing them opportunities to use sports and fitness to reintegrate into our communities and empower them through sports. How cool is that? Thank you so much, Noble Vines. We're so glad to have you back with us here on the Mom Game. And welcome into yet another edition of the Mom Game. This is episode number 53. I'm Julie Dobbs. Emily Jones is here, and today we have a really fun guest. Another one of my coworkers. This is George Dunham of The Ticket. He's the host of the morning show, The Musers.
Emily's
been
like,
around
enough ticket
forever.
guys already.
No,
all right?
okay.
Stop it.
Can I just tell you, I listen to the ticket literally all day long.
I know, you're such a good P1.
So I time my runs based on the musers.
Do you really?
So if I get up too early, I'm like, it's 5:30. I'm not gonna be able to fast forward through the breaks. I'm gonna need like sleep in a little bit longer. Literally, I listen every single morning. So you're
the reason I watch Ranger games because they haven't been much fun in like 10 years. So.
Well, thank you.
This is so sweet what you guys are doing right now.
Well, and as we go
love
on
Emily.
further along in the show, I'm going to reveal some more things about George that I've seen or heard in my now 17 years of listening to you guys.
Wow.
So when I first got here, I listened to the ticket when I would come to Dallas to visit friends when I was living in Lubbock, and then when I moved here, I became a P1 or whatever it's called. Like I don't
We love it. We need
a
to have
female
you on.
P1.
We need you on a long time. And this is great for me. I shamelessly told Julie, when do I get to be on the mom game? I want to be on the mom game.
That's such a compliment to us.
Yeah.
That's so flattering. Yeah,
it is. And
So
you know
thank
what,
you.
George, we're so glad you're here today because the big Dak Prescott contract came down. And you know what we want to
Thank
do?
God.
We want to break it down
Can we
from
not?
beginning to end. We want to do a whole hour on the Dak contract. What do you think? Do you think he deserves it? Was it too much? Was it too little? How are the Cowboys going to play next year? What do you think?
That's a really good
I'm just
topic that
kidding.
you just came up with right there. That's
Oh my
really good.
God, I'm so exhausted by Dak.
But isn't it
Prescott.
great that he signed though? That we
is
don't
great.
have
That's
to
the
go,
best
I don't know. What
part.
do you think? You think they'll get together before?
Oh my
I don't know.
God.
What do you think?
And like,
Well,
where
I
does
don't
he
know.
rank? Is he number 4? Or is he
I
number
got him
5?
You got him. Okay, you got him 6. All right. Well, we'll take your calls on that. It's maddening.
The biggest beatdown.
It is.
But the best part is, you're right. I actually, just for a little bit of contract talk, like I was a little surprised. I
was a
thought they
little
were
bit.
going to franchise him and we'd be doing
Yeah.
this for a whole nother year. So the best thing is, it's like, okay, the Cowboys have their quarterback. Can we move on to other
Right.
things? Can the
We got
team
other
move on to
things.
other things?
We got the Rangers about to start the season. What the
Yes.
heck? No, I said the same about a month ago. I don't have a lot of sources, but I do have a decent Cowboys source. And he said, I really think we'll get him signed. And so I went with that and I said, I think they're going to get him signed. That's what I've been told from somebody I really trust. But with each passing day, it's like, holy cow, they're going to have to put him on the franchise tag again. We're going to have to go through this all again. And then boom.
It was just
contract.
weird, yeah, because you weren't hearing any leaks. Like usually there's a leak of like, this is how much they're talking about, but this is this and blah, blah, blah. And you weren't getting any of that. So it was kind of a big surprise. But yes, I think everyone's feeling just like glad that the Cowboys
it's
know.
over.
And everybody
that they'll
loves
have
Dak, right?
Oh
We
my
all love him.
gosh. Yeah, how can you not? Yeah.
You just want good things for him.
Yeah.
And this is a great thing for him. And
It's good.
Maybe now
It's
the
good
team
for
will
all
be
of us.
decent.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
good for all of
The
us.
next couple of
100%.
years. It's
And
all good.
We can all move on from Dak contract
We
talks.
can. So first of all, I came in working at the ticket. It's been almost 3 years. In July, it'll be 3 years. And I listened. I was like a casual P1, if you will. I wasn't hardcore. So I didn't listen from the beginning. I didn't even listen 10 years ago. It's more of a recent, 5 years-ish, maybe a little more
You're
than
so
that.
young.
Seriously, she is.
You know what? It's all relative. My kids think I'm really old. So
Wait. They're sweet to you now. Wait till they turn teenager. And then,
So I know that the three of you and Gordo and Craig, did you all three go to UNT? And just
No,
kind of how
just-
did it come together for you three? And could you ever have imagined the career that you guys have going right now?
No. Craig and I went to school together. Gordon kind of wandered in like a lost dog.
Like he'll
in
do.
the first couple of days of the ticket.
After working with Skip Bayless for like a hot second.
It was weird.
Can't even imagine how that would have gone.
It was really strange. But no, Craig and I have known each other since we were teenagers, I think when we first enrolled at North Texas, he was 17 and I was 18. And we were in the same dorm. And then we had a couple classes together. The story goes that we had that freshman English class together when I said, I'm going to sit over here because it's funnier on this side of the room. And then we struck up this great friendship. And we used to, as I'm sure you did, Texas Tech, used to sit in dorm rooms or eventually an apartment and say, what do you think we'll be doing in 10 years? Because he got me going I was a business major.
Okay.
And then I said, by the way, what are you majoring in? He said, radio TV. They have that? I didn't even know they had that. So I got really involved in that. It just kind of dawned on me. That's kind of what I didn't know what I wanted. Like every freshman, in college, you don't know what you want to do. So, but we would start going through those scenarios. What do you think we'll be doing? I don't know. We'll probably never work together. That'd be cool though, wouldn't it? Yeah, it'd be cool. I mean, we never could have imagined this. And we worked together, KRLD, Texas State Network, And then the ticket started and we started doing a show together. And yeah, the rest, 27 years later,
Wow.
here we are.
How did you get that first show at the ticket? And what was the ticket at that point?
Yeah, it was a startup. It was an idea for Reiner.
Yeah.
And I knew Mike a little bit. He hung out with Grego and Craig and like what they call the back of the bus, Old Arlington Stadium. You weren't even around in those days.
I wasn't
were
here
you?
for
yeah, Old Arlington
no.
Stadium. There's an auxiliary press box down the first base side, and we were on like the third level, way up there. I used to have to cover games there, but then I started doing things for the Texas State Network, so I didn't have to really cover games as much. But anyway, they got to be good friends, and the investors started talking to Rhines about a potential sports station. And he said, "Hey, you think George would go?" And I said,
That's so cool.
"Yeah." And then we got going, and here we are. And, there was all those stories about would we even get on the air. Craig and I left KRLD and the Texas State Network in October of 93, thinking we were starting November 1st. That became the 15th, the 20th, December 1st, December 15th. I had 2 young kids, no job. When are we starting? Are we sure? We called Reiner every night. And then finally we got on the air January 24th, and Craig and I did 2 to 5. Gordon was helping out with Skip Bayless in the morning, and then he got kicked off that show because he didn't really fit. And I remember listening to him thinking, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard on radio. And then he got kicked off, and then he just kind of wandered into our show and the Hardline, and we got a new program director, and he said, I want you, Gordon, to be with these guys in the morning, a little bit with the guys in the afternoon. And that was October of 95 when we moved to mornings, taking Skip's place. And I thought, this would be great. We can do this for a couple of years, and then, morning drive, Dallas, we can parlay that into something else. And sure enough, here we are, still going.
It's hard to leave that place, isn't it?
And we've talked about this a little bit before when we've had guys from the ticket on, that it's such a unique, the way that you guys have carved out this cult following and the chemistry that you guys have, not only within shows, but from show to show throughout the station. It's such a unique thing that you can't really you can't replicate
what
it.
Is it?
And
exactly.
you sure can't you sure can't try to imitate it. And it takes effing time. Like it just takes time. I would assume. Like, that's what when I talk about my relationship with the Rangers and the organization, it's not, kids will ask me like, oh, how do you get to have it's like it takes time. It just takes so much time and trust and developing that rapport. And so for you three, for you and Craig, it obviously was a little more natural, but then you throw Wheels Off Gordon into the mix, and it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, and hey, we used to have scraps, I mean, we were younger in our 20s, and if we didn't agree on a sports point, it would bother both of us for like 2 days, But I think that's that's how the show has, I think, evolved over 27 years is we kind of know our lanes and our boundaries, and we respect one another and we love one another, and we just kind of get through it, and we still don't agree on everything, but it used to be, damn it, I'm right, and I don't even care if I'm right anymore.
Okay, so
not that I ever have been.
Same. Okay, tell us about so you've got older kids.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
They're like Julie's age.
And you've got seriously.
Pretty much. Okay, so Scott Landry, my youngest, is about to turn 21 next week.
Ooh.
And then Blake, my middle one, he's the one who's the coach. Okay. Argyle just won the state championship.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Way to go, Blake.
Special teams coordinator and defensive line coach.
Sweet.
And special education teacher.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
That's
he's
cool.
great with the kids, in the classroom and then in the field house too. And it's been really cool to watch that. And he's coaching at his alma mater. He graduated from Argyle. And then my oldest, Brent, is about to be, this May, he will be 34. So, I was a young dad.
Yeah. Dude, how old were you when you had kids? I'm trying to do
22.
Shit.
You were young.
I was really young.
And where in the 34-year-old, what's he doing nowadays? Is he local?
He is in Austin.
Okay.
He is in market research, and all my kids are so much smarter than I am. And
Same.
when he starts talking, I realized that when they were toddlers too. I was like, God, they're already smarter than I am.
Uh-huh.
But he's in market research and analysis, and it's really cool what he does. But as he starts explaining it, I get lost like 10, 15 seconds in because he starts using terms that I still don't know what they mean.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's really smart and loves living in Austin. Big music fan. And, you know, he really enjoyed, you know, going out, seeing live music, and hopefully we're about to start doing that again.
So 3 boys.
3 boys.
No girls. Did your wife ever pine for a girl?
Yeah.
Did you ever? So my daddy
Yeah.
had 2 girls, and that's all he wanted. He did not want boys.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he said boys would go away, and when they got married, the wives would take over. And with girls, he knew
Right.
that he would always have,
Oh, that's sweet.
which is incredible.
That is so true.
Yes,
It is.
Girls take care of their parents better than boys do.
Yeah, and so he
We can
was,
still say different things about genders,
You can
right?
say whatever you
Okay.
want here.
You can.
But they do, and I've worried about that. And like my middle one is married very well, so Madison, I think she'll take good care of us.
Right. Or
She
she'll
will.
make him.
There
you go.
She'll make sure it's done.
Yes.
Because my boys will be like, yeah,
They're fine.
whatever. I'm watching the game. You know, no, I tried, and that's what I got involved in the Senior Source of Greater Dallas. My parents have been gone for a long time, and my eyes were just, you know, I was the youngest of 5, so I was still relatively very young when my parents started getting sick. I was in my early 30s, and it just blindsided me.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, now I
Like, this is a thing that's going to happen.
I really
that I have to
understand the
deal
circle
with.
of life now. Now
Yeah.
we take care of them, and I did okay. And you know, my sister though was the best at it, and she was out just amazing. And that's why every year when we have Jub Jam, we award the Laura Grace Award. That's my sister's name.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, for people who, you know, that we hear stories about who take care of their parents, or maybe someone in their neighborhood or something like that. But yeah, that's a day that's coming for all of us, and it's not.
It's a
always
weird
pretty.
thing to think about, isn't it?
It is.
It's inevitable.
You'll
but-
start thinking about more when you're in your 50s. Like right now, I really think about it. Like 70, 75, you sound, man, that's old. That does not sound old at all to me.
No.
I mean, that's just around the
Well,
corner
yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, you always think about that. Like, and you know, we've had the conversation. Well, first of all, my dad died suddenly when he was 67. And so there was, and this sounds crazy to even say out loud, my dad was an extremely stubborn human being. He would not have aged gracefully. He would not have been he would not have done well with someone taking care of him.
Right.
So if I can find one silver lining in the fact that he died suddenly, it's the fact that we didn't have to do that. And he didn't have to go, because he would have hated it.
Yeah. My dad
every step
did.
of the way.
Yeah.
My dad, he had a knee replacement. He had to be down for like 48 hours. He was bitching and moaning the entire time. I'm like, if something ever really happened to you, do you realize how you're ridiculous?
Yeah.
But-
Both my parents take that and run with it, because my parents were both bedridden in the last couple of years.
Yeah, my grandparents.
It was
were.
awful.
Yeah, my grandparents were, and
terrible.
it was hard for my dad. But it also made me have conversations with my mom about long-term health care, like different things like that. I mean, and, you know, we had these conversations shortly after my dad died. You know, and I was like, you know, we need to think about this. Like, you know, there's things you don't think about.
And you got to think about it for
you're gonna think
yourself
about.
now that, you know, you start planning for college and stuff.
Yeah.
Think about that long-term care for yourself,
Yeah.
you know, to help out your kids someday. What the heck is that going to cost? And
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's,
it's not
30
something you
years.
don't think about, like putting money away for your own care, so it's not a burden on your children.
yeah,
yeah.
I know.
And then you got to save
That's a
for
downer.
college
That's
for
such a
this.
downer.
It
all
is.
I
these
come
other
in,
things.
I just ruined the show.
No, you don't. But before we move on, I do want to
It's
talk.
it's real life.
Right. I do want to talk about the Senior Source and what you do every year for it. Just in case people aren't aware, because it really is such a fantastic service.
They're a great organization. They have so many outreach programs. Some of it, they connect older adults with employment or volunteerism. You know, sometimes people retire and they think, I want to do something. Well, they put them in action, especially before the pandemic, of, okay, well, how would you like to read to children or teach children English and things like that. They also are a service. They have an ombudsman program. They have a service for just that very thing we talked about. We have to, okay, my mom has to go into a nursing care facility. What would you recommend? Who would you recommend for at home care? And they just have so many different outreach programs, and it's a really unique, because I think other cities have seen what Senior Source of Greater Dallas has done here in Dallas, and they've reached out to them. How do you do this? How did you get started? Well, they started back in 63, but we have so many more older adults now, not only here in the Metroplex, but nationwide. So yeah. And I just did that. I looked for, after my parents passed away, two things started for me. That somehow we need to, because my parents had great care. It was terrible, but they had great care.
Yeah.
It's terrible to go through it. But I just wondered, what about the people that don't? And that's really the best way to say the senior source, because when we get to 100 degrees, or a couple of weeks ago when we didn't have any heat, they are out there actively, taking space heaters into homes. In the summertime, they partner with people like Home Depot to make sure that people have air conditioning. They do so many different things. So
Yeah.
after my parents passed away, I found them, and we started started slowly in front of about 200 people. And then 2 years ago, the last time we were in front of a crowd, we had Pat Green. You were there that night. And we had
2 years ago.
I think so. Yeah.
The last time I went out and partied.
Yeah. That was 2 years ago. We had over 1,000 people. We raised over $100,000. So, and we had to do it virtually this year. And that was kind of a bummer. And, we raised about half as much money. But hopefully sometime this summer or fall, we'll have another Jub Jam in front of humans.
I'll be there.
Awesome.
Okay, so a lot of things that I want to talk about. We want to talk more about your boys. I want to talk about your music career and everything there. But before we move on from the ticket, just a question that just kind of came to me. So you've been at the ticket since essentially it began.
Start, yeah.
So as everybody like you and like Craig and Mike Reiner's already retired, as people are getting maybe to that next step in their career, do you feel some sort of kind of like ownership? Like this is almost your baby in a way?
Yeah.
As far as like, we got to make sure that this thing keeps on turning and goes well and stays as popular as it has been. Well, I bet your heartstrings are very much tied to it.
They are. And it'll be a weird day when we all, and I don't know if we'll all do it at once on the morning show, or the
like,
guys who've been there to say, see ya. But, and I mean this, and because I've told you this several times, you are a breath of fresh air on the ticket. You've been a great addition. And
Amen.
that's why I wonder what the ticket's going to be like in 10 years. I don't think I'll be there in 10 years, but I feel good that people like Jake, Corby will probably still be there in 10 years. I hope will still be there in 10 years. Soroy, this younger group that's coming up now, I think we'll carry it on, and it'll evolve. And, I think there'll always be a place for it. And I think that whatever it is, whatever that looks like in 5 years, sports talk, and maybe it's a different platform or whatever,
So do you think about retirement? Is that entering?
Oh yeah.
How do you not? I mean, don't we start thinking about it like now?
Yeah. I think about it. And we're asked that question, how many more years you guys got? I can't answer that. I would say, obviously, we're closer to the end than the beginning. 27 years is a long time to do anything.
Gosh.
And I love it. I still love it. There's going to be a day, though, that we wake up and just go, okay, I don't think I want to do this anymore.
Do you think you and Craig will do it together? That sounded terrible. That sounds
maybe.
You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Never know what retirement's going to bring.
If you had to put money on it, I would say, that we would probably go out together, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems appropriate.
And then you can have a legitimate sports show with Gordon just by himself.
And then Gordon can finally get the sports platform that he's waited for all these years to,
for sure,
tell us what he thinks about the Stars.
That's what everybody's like just pandering to know is what does Gordon think about?
Stanley Cup picks for this year.
Okay, so with this job growing up, was it conducive as a dad? Because I mean, I would assume there are certain things you miss, but the fact that you're done at 10 o'clock, you're at least opens you up to.
But then you got to be all tired.
But then
I was tired,
exhausted.
But I would try to get a nap while they were at school,
Yeah.
and then when they'd come home, I coached everything: baseball, basketball, even a little football. I didn't want wild about youth football, but my youngest, when we moved to Argyle, football's a big deal at every level, and so I got involved in that. So I was there. I was never there for breakfast, but I was always there for lunch and dinner. In the summertime, hanging out.
Awesome.
We'd go play golf, and so it in a way it was. And I really fought it in the early days of the ticket, just keeping them very separate. This is family, this is ticket, and then I would talk about the boys on the air a little bit, but then I started seeing things mentioned to them at school by either
Oh.
teacher, and it was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
That was probably a bad idea.
But that's hard because I think a lot of the reason people like the ticket and like you and
Real
they
stories.
love those
Yep.
stories.
Yeah, real stories.
You can get just like sports talk anywhere, but
Yeah.
people connect to the people on the
Right.
ticket, especially someone like you who's been there for 25 years.
You got to walk that line.
yeah, and they're like, oh
It's
my
great
God.
when they're young too. Like when you have kids, you talk about them all you want.
Yeah.
And then when they start going to
it's- You know
school
what?
and
It's
then
hard
high
not to
school-
because they just infiltrate my life.
Yeah. And there's
But-
funny stories too. There's hilarious stories.
Yeah,
and
but I think
real
it's
life
cool
stories.
because someone like one of the things I want to talk about is when your kids went off to college.
Yeah.
And I remember even just you telling the story on
I
the
probably
air.
cried on the air.
Well, and that's fine. You know what? I was crying. Like everybody listening is crying because for you personally, like they probably remember you talking about your kids when they were little and they
Yeah.
feel like they know them.
Yeah.
That's why I'm candid and I think everyone should be to a point. You don't want to reveal too much.
Right.
But I guess just what was that? Like I can't even
Yeah.
imagine because your kids are so all consuming when they're in your house.
Yeah.
Right? And you almost even you try not to make them your priority, but they can become a priority even in your relationship.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're like, oh my God, they're gone. And you kind of look at your spouse.
It's an emptiness like you will never experience in any
Yeah.
other part of your life. But you balance it out, as I had two guys on the show that said, what are you complaining about? They're healthy, they're going to college. Remember when you did that? And I
Yeah.
went, well, yeah, that was fun. But now I'm on the other side of that. I don't want them to go to college and, not hang out with me every day. But yeah, it's a terrible, lonely feeling those first couple of days. But it gets better. Yeah, it gets better. And then I think when they go off, and especially, there were times with teenage boys, we didn't always see eye to eye. And I think when they go off to college and then come back, they go, yeah, you were right about a lot.
I
of that
feel like
stuff.
I feel like it was that way for me. And I didn't. I mean, it wasn't ever major fights and disagreements and all that kind of stuff. But your parents became kind of cool after you went to college. Like
Yeah.
it was fun to hang out with them. And
I'm doing this because they did this for me.
Right. Exactly.
And they made those sacrifices. And yeah, and that was, when you have young kids, one thing that really dawned on me was when we started having Christmas again. And I used to think, well, in my own little mind, Santa Claus came and no, it was my parents that made all this, and yeah. So
what about your wife? Did she ever work?
she did. In
She
fact,
did.
she was in the broadcast business too.
Okay.
She was with, this goes way back, Host Communications and the Southwest Conference Radio Network.
Okay.
By the way, I would have identified you as a woman who went to Texas Tech. I used to have this supernatural power. I could identify women and where they went to school in the Southwest Conference. I can't
Based
do it
on-
anymore. I would take it as a compliment in your
Okay,
case.
okay.
Because Texas Tech
Lots of
women
hots
are
at Texas Tech.
no
are.
doubt,
Lots
no
of
doubt,
fun,
and
like to party.
they're fun. And there's something about the Texas Tech woman that is just kind of like you are, just kind of like,
Cusses a lot.
okay, yeah, you can throw that in there, but there's not a lot of pretense. There's not a lot of BS. It's just, this is who I am, and yeah, that happens. And okay, so what?
Okay, I take that as a
and,
huge
and,
compliment.
and I'm
Win.
around, and if you're around them for like 5 minutes or so, you can tell that. So I definitely would have. And by the way, and you probably know this, at Texas Tech, they go hard.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
What is that? Is it just a West Texas thing?
I guess.
There's nothing else to
It's
do
nothing
but
else
like
to
play
do,
with prairie
but
dogs.
Lubbock's a cool town. I mean, there's a lot of good live music there. and
Yeah, I mean,
a lot
it
of
really
Texas artists cut their teeth there.
Very
and
much so.
Yeah.
Randy Rogers, Wade Bowen, Pat,
Corey
of course.
Morrow,
Yeah.
Flatland Cavalier. All these
Which is
bands came out
so
of Lubbock.
cool.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is. I think a lot of it is it's West Texas. A lot of West Texas people go to Lubbock, but then
Yeah.
there's also a lot of people, big city people,
Yeah.
that want to get away from the big city.
Tons of
and
Dallas
I think they
people.
just
And they're out of
tons.
it, and they just put the throttle down.
They
and
just go hard. Yeah,
do.
It is.
It's a fun school.
It
though.
is such a fun school.
Yeah. I
And
got a lot of good friends who are Red Raiders.
yeah,
So.
yeah.
I have
And
one.
they catch a lot of crap from poor
Oh
people.
yeah.
Who cares?
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't
I have one Texas Tech story.
Yeah, do tell.
My brother went to Tech for a year and then he transferred to A&M. So I was a senior in high school trying to figure out where I wanted to go. And he's like, come out here for a weekend, Julie. So I'm, high school Julie goes out there.
No.
And my brother,
No, I don't see you mixing at Texas Tech.
my brother and I, like, we're really close, and we kind of partied together. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, Mom, like we did. And so I got out there, and he was like so excited to show me off to his friends. He's like, watch my sister, like watch how much she can drink, you know.
Do a keg stand.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Like the sickest I had ever been at that point in my life. We went to the food hall. He's like, okay, the next morning. So the night was fine. Like, you know, I just went to bed early or something.
Yeah.
So I was not, it was kind of anticlimactic, and I wasn't as cool as he was hoping, I think, because I went to bed. I was like, yeah, I can hang, and then just like zonked out. The next morning, I just remember like going to the food hall and just losing it, tossing my cookies. Like,
Did you make it to the bathroom?
yes. So
And you
I'm
probably
like,
thought there's no way I can do
I
this.
thought there's no way I can go to this school, like, because that was just my
That was
memory.
at A&M?
No, it was at Tech.
Oh, at Tech. Sorry.
Yeah.
Your brother.
Before our brother went
It was
to
just
A&M.
like a house party or something.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, the only time I've ever been there and
Yeah.
been to Lubbock. But I've met so many people since then that went to Tech that I love. So I completely agree.
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun, and they're just
Yeah.
like down to earth.
I was
Yeah.
thinking about my A&M story when I went and visited and you couldn't walk on the grass. And I was like, this place is ridiculous. There's no way I'm going here. No walking on the grass.
Yeah, see? A good-
Spare me.
Way too many rules.
What town you grew up in?
why is your grass so important? Like, come on.
You're a West Texas girl, right?
Yeah, Plainview.
Plainview. Okay.
Yeah.
I almost said Levelland, but
Yeah.
okay, Plainview. Yeah.
Yeah, same premise.
Basketball tradition.
Level
right?
land,
Yeah.
Plainview.
Yeah, same thing.
We're
That's
down
funny.
there.
I've
Yes.
never thought about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's called that for a reason.
Just be
Yeah.
called
But
Flat
there's
City.
a Brownfield is around there. I
Brownfield.
mean, it's
Yeah.
Little Field. Like there's all kinds of names to.
I love the Southwest Conference though. And see,
Oh,
I
it
can't,
was so fun.
you know, it was weird when it broke up and it's kind of the same with the Big 12 and part of the Big 8, but it's just, it hadn't been the same since 95.
I agree.
When it all broke
I
up.
loved the Southwest Conference. I
Yeah.
thought it was so much fun.
Oh, but anyway, yeah, she worked for them and then the Southwest Conference broke up. Then we had her second child. And since then she stayed at home.
Okay,
She
so
was at home.
how did she handle emptiness? I mean, how did she handle when the boys were all gone?
You know, I think y'all as women get such a raw deal that I think it was very tough on her, but at the same time, because she was all in as a mom. I mean, always
Yeah.
volunteering, you
Yeah.
know, doing this and that, and always making sure. I mean, she ran, and the kids still refer to her. If they need money, they go to her. Or if they have a financial question,
Right.
she's kept the books since we didn't have anything, to the point now where we have just a little, you know, we finally, you know, can make it and pay bills. And that's the way it was in radio. So yeah, I think she had a really tough time, but at the same time, it's kind of like, whew, okay, one's out the door. Now I got two
Yeah.
more, you know, and that's why I think what y'all do is really cool too, because that is hard. It's hard just to stay at home. And she did, you know, some part-time jobs and things like that. But how you do what you do and still be a mom, I think it's incredible. It really is.
Yeah, it's
hard.
I mean,
We're
it's a
both
shit
losing our
show.
minds.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, it's just a finding that
Yeah.
to me, like during the pandemic, I mean, I've worked 60 games in the last calendar year. Like it's so that's that means I've had about 300 days off.
Yeah.
I mean, and not off. I'm still working. I'm still Zooming but like without going into the ballpark.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that is harder.
Sure.
Way harder than
Sure.
than a job.
Yeah.
I mean, way harder than a job. And
Yeah.
I am not cut out for that at this point in my life.
Sure.
I am not cut out for that.
Yeah.
So I feel like that requires a certain skill set that I don't possess.
No, I
and it's
totally get that.
Highly admirable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's manageable when they're in school. Like my kids are 9 and 7. They go to school from
That helps.
7:30 to 3. That's manageable. But like this whole virtual school shit and all that stuff, like
I couldn't have done it. I don't know how you're
Outski.
doing that.
Yeah.
I couldn't have not.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, I mean,
there's no
during
way I
the
could have done it.
during the snowstorm, and then you didn't even have virtual. And I'm like, but then there's moms, and then they have like more than 2 kids, and I'm like, that's a cool trick.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you pull that off?
I don't know.
Like,
I would have been so exposed if we would have had the virtual school thing, like 8th and 9th grade math. I'd just be going, oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, third
Sorry.
grade. I mean, Henry's in the 3rd grade, and they don't even do math the same. You know how we used to carry stuff? Like
Yeah.
carry the one.
They're not carrying?
They don't carry it.
What do they do with it?
They do tits. They do.
They do what?
They put it in their pocket. I don't know. They don't carry it.
Sorry.
They drop it. I don't know. They,
I know
She
what
said
you
what I
heard.
thought she
Yeah,
said.
She did.
They-
you
said
said they do tits.
Tens?
Tens.
Okay.
Like 1 0.
Oh,
See, here
man,
I can
I
say
don't remember
that.
that about 3rd grade.
I can repeat it. sit here and nothing happens.
I had a
to
teacher
me.
named Mrs. Cobb in 3rd grade. That's not a pleasant thought. About what I thought you said.
No, sorry. No, like it's all by tens. Like there's a block of tens, and the tens and the ones. There's tens and there's ones. And I'm like, you're
So
SOL,
13
kid.
plus 5 would really cross them up.
It's
then.
what do you do?
I don't know.
It's like how many tens are there? And how
Right.
many, it's
Can
like
they
because then you have
function?
to. It's almost like you have to find the answer in order to get your tens and your ones.
Yeah.
You know. So
Carrying's
I was like,
easier.
Yeah, I'm like,
They need to
you
fix
just
that.
carry the one.
I know.
We don't carry anything, Mom. And I'm like,
Everything's
okay.
changing.
Yeah.
It
Okay,
is.
so I want to ask you something as a
Yeah.
boy dad.
Yeah.
So I don't know how prevalent. I'm trying to think of timing, like internet. I mean, like used to be, it was like
Scared me to
Playboy.
death. Everything
Playboy's
scared
the
me.
only thing.
Internet scared me.
So now it's like you got Fortnite, we got porn, we got. I mean, all the stuff.
I know.
Where was it when? I mean, because
It was there. Yeah, it was there.
You had to try harder to find it, probably.
Yeah, probably. And, I mean, you couldn't watch them. I think for a while we had the turn in your phone at night thing, when
Yes.
they were, but see, my kids, and this is so different now, my kids didn't get, my older two, they didn't get their first cell phone until I think they were 16.
Oh wow,
I know. That sounds archaic now
it does.
because I see kids in elementary school, I'm just
Well,
like,
and
what
I'm
the-
not. I want mine so I can get a hold of my kids. Like,
Yeah,
we
I
have a
get
big
it.
neighborhood. They run around. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just want to. I don't want to have to walk around and try.
But they
to
have
find
guards
you.
for it, right? So they can't get on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of Well,
And you can track them.
except you can track them. all that.
Jackass scared
Yes.
me too. That show's hilarious though.
But yeah,
In fact, my
That's the
my
funny-
middle
that's-
son
that's timely,
called
yeah.
me from college. He was at North Texas and he played football there. And he said one night he called me and said, "Dad, Jackass 2's out. Will you come up and watch it with us?" I'm like 10 minutes away. I went, "Yeah, okay."
that had to be a huge
Oh my
compliment.
gosh, it was hilarious. And I tried to act like Jackass didn't exist because I had two boys that I know would try half the stuff,
Right.
And I know they had friends who did try some of that stuff. But yeah, all that stuff just scared me. Don't feel bad if you're scared about everything for your kids because every parent is. It's like, oh God.
I know my kids have just recently started riding their bike to school. So we're relatively close, like a little bit over half a mile, but they have to cross this street. And so this is day 2. We did it today. And I run alongside them while they ride their bikes. And
That's a
I
good
run them to
solution.
school.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But at some point I'm like, and they're still young and we're trying to get there, but a story about the technology and all that stuff. So, I didn't know, Henry and his friends are like, it's literally like farts and Fortnite. Like we're not, they're
two
not
Fs.
talking about girls. They're not,
Yeah.
whatever. So Henry has a birthday party this past summer and, the boys go upstairs and I'm going to bed. I'm like, good night. These are all great kids. We'd gone on a tour of the ballpark and all this kind of stuff. So the next day, my best friend Lisa is like, hey, you might want to check with Henry because Ben came home talking about like, girls dancing on Fortnite. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. So I call my husband. I'm on my way to work. Call my husband. I'm like, hey, look at browser history. So I get a text like 5 minutes later. He's like, it's not good.
Oh
And I was
no,
like,
Emily!
No.
So
I didn't know about
So
this.
it started in a good place. Hot 10-year-old girls. So they're
And they're how old?
they're 9. So
Okay.
they're
Older
I'm like,
women
I'm
at
like,
that point, yeah.
In their age range.
Wait, is that a
But
good place to start?
It's at least it's not like where it ended.
oh,
Because if you
weird.
go down that rabbit hole, let me tell you, it's not good.
What did Henry see?
Oh, honey, you don't want to know.
Oh,
Go home and
no.
Google hot 10-year-old girls and see what you,
my
because it just
God.
goes
No.
down this rabbit hole. And so then you're thinking like child porn. Like it's,
Well, yeah.
This is nowhere you, and so then I had to
So that kid doesn't come over anymore.
So
Is it
then,
that
well,
kind of thing?
so we
Or the
kind of
mom's
did some
like,
research, and there's kids that have older siblings tend to get exposed to things a little.
Right.
But this was not even on my radar, y'all. Like he doesn't talk about girls. They don't
I was
talk
thinking
about
No,
girls.
he
12,
won't.
13.
He won't talk about girls around you.
That's true.
I noticed that in my boys, and I never talked about girls in
Right.
front of my mom.
But then I had to call these moms and say, "Oh, sorry about what
Sorry, they got off on a
said."
track,
I
and
know.
yeah.
And then they want to know what they saw, and I'm like, I don't.
Wait, so there were other boys there?
Yeah, it's a birthday party. There was
Okay,
like
I
6
didn't-
boys there.
Oh,
So then they all start feeding on it, and then it turns into like biggest boobs in the world, and it's like,
Oh,
it's
no.
so is that through their Fortnite game, or
No.
do they have an iPad?
yes.
Oh,
Okay.
Yes.
no filters on
So-
that thing, or
Well, so there There.
Now you do.
Yes. Yeah. Now you do.
I think we all should.
Yes.
I mean, Ryder
Yeah.
uses like Kelly's from work that I'm sure doesn't have any,
No.
but
Right. But all it just takes is one to plant the seed. But then we put the fear of God in that child. Like,
Yeah.
mommy and daddy will be arrested. Like,
Yeah.
we pulled no punches.
Oh, I'm
Like,
sure he's just
yeah,
wide-eyed and, oh my God,
But
I'll never do
you,
that again.
And then you reinforce it with the controls. But it's just, I was just not prepared for that.
But here's what you
at
need to
that
lay
age.
down the law on, though. This whole fart thing with kids,
farts.
with boys and moms. I told you before we started doing the show.
we had a little fart talk.
Yeah, and see, I don't even want to talk about it with y'all.
You can. We can.
But
We already did.
your boys should never talk about or do that around you. And look, it's funny. I think it's hilarious. Still do. I'm still a 9-year-old, but don't talk about that in front of mom.
I
And
know.
don't do that in front of your mother.
But you know what I think doesn't help, George, is I have the sense of humor of a
I know,
12-year-old boy.
I know.
So do you laugh when Henry farts?
I mean, maybe the first couple of times it was funny, but now I'm like, for the love of God, can
You ever
we?
hear doorknob safety? Do they play that game still?
No. What's
Apparently,
that?
if somebody rips one and calls out doorknob, then the first person who says safety can't get hit. Anyone else, you can get hit on the arm.
With the fart?
No, with like an actual hit.
Oh, I was
So-
thinking the same thing.
So like if player A says doorknob, you can't hit him for farting, and you can't hit the guy,
The first guy that
next to him
says-
if he says doorknob, but anyone else could get hit on the arm. So if you hear these sleepovers, all of a sudden you start hearing safety, doorknob, you know what they're doing.
Okay.
They're playing some
Interesting.
ridiculous fart
Right.
game.
But this doesn't, I remember being in the Rangers clubhouse and they'd be like, it's crop dusting day. And it's like they're blowing ass and
No.
then, yes.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Why are farts so funny
I
even
don't know.
into
I don't know.
adulthood?
I don't know. It's a funny sound. It's a funny
it
sound.
smells funny.
Yeah. Oh, I've got
That part of it's, I don't know, but it's
It
just
doesn't
funny.
smell funny. It smells foul. I mean,
Yeah.
it's disgusting.
got so much.
But
is.
it does sound
So much ahead of
But
me.
they should not, a husband in front of the wife. No.
I agree.
Yeah.
I completely
Wow.
agree. I get sometimes, there's those
happens.
accidental ones, but it shouldn't just be, I don't think ever, even if you've been married for
No.
20 or 30 years,
No.
we're just walking through the house.
Just a little bit of
Like-
respect.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
mean,
There needs to be a line there.
we're stuck with each other for life.
Yeah.
Like, let's at least pretend to still, have manners and be polite and
Yeah.
because we married this person after dating them, right?
Right.
So
Oh,
they were
you'd
putting
never
on a front
fart while you're
So
dating.
it's
All right,
like
here's one. So, you know the old ticket
you would never
promo?
fart when you're dating. That's my point. We
Right.
should-
You
we
never
should
do that.
continue
Keep that
on.
going. Keep that
Yes.
fire going.
Yes.
But not that fire going. But when we used to have this promo on the ticket that would say, farting on the couch and blaming it on the dog. Sports Radio 1310. And I thought that was kind of funny. But again, you never mix it. Well, I was at home by myself watching something on TV on the couch. We used to have a basset hound named Bo Jackson. And the kids finally figured out how to do it, blame it on the dog. Well, I'm home by myself. So yeah, it happened. Okay.
Right.
Maybe a few times.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden I hear the garage door going up. It's like,
Oh,
oh no.
no.
And Bo was not in the room. And that dog moves about, the speed of molasses. And I'm like, Bo Jackson, come here. And then he thinks he's in trouble. But he started making his way, slowly. I'm like waving him around. And finally he gets in. It's like perfect timing. He's in there, sitting down right as the door opens. And of course, the first thing she says is, "Oh my God, what happened?" That dog. That dog. And not until now have I think I told that story on the air, so she's probably heard it. But yeah, I just never mixed the two. It's just it's not
good.
good.
Good
That
for
is
you.
good
Yeah.
for you.
Some things are best kept private.
Tell your husbands that, and then maybe they
I'm
will
just trying to keep
adapt
everybody inside. I was like, can you just go into the bathroom? Like,
Right.
I understand if you need
Step
can you just-
outside, get a breath of fresh air.
Something.
Yes,
whatever
just
it
not
takes.
here.
but not when it's
Not in front of
entertainment
mom.
value. It's absolutely entertainment value.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we talked a little bit about monitoring the computers and that kind of thing. I'm wondering what kind of dad were you when it comes to kids? I want drinking, that kind of thing, or
Yeah.
just being honest about whatever it is that they're going through. I feel like there's a fine line in parenting, and this is another
There
thing
is.
that I'm nervous about, where you want them to be able to come to you and be honest and open.
Right.
But you don't want to like cross the line and be too cool or show them, try to make them think something's okay if you don't want them doing it. How did you handle all of that?
Poorly.
Yeah.
Messaging is important. You know, keep whatever your values are, whatever you want them to do and to stay away from. Pump those messages to them. You know, hey, I want you to be safe. Please call me if you do get in some sort of predicament. Right. Don't worry about what I'll think. We'll sort that out later. That's important. But I was terrible at that. My wife was so much better at it than I was. I was bad at it. And I got better. Like with my first one, I was over him, you know, watching him like a hawk. Because I knew what I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
And then I got better about it. And I was never the cool dad that you would think, oh, he works at the ticket. I bet there's a party. No, there was no.
Yeah, you don't want to be that one.
No.
But then
I just want to be in the middle. I don't want to be the helicopter parent, but I don't want to be, you know, the mom that lets her kids.
I think that's a good way to go. And they're still going to do things that you probably don't want to know. And we've been informed later years, declassified now. It's like, oh man, y'all really did that? Yeah, they did that. So
it seems like there's a point where you're just like, just be safe. Like let me just make sure that you're safe.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's everything else you hope that they can figure it out.
Yeah. Be kind too. That's another one. Don't be part of the group that I almost worry about now. That story the other day about that poor Plano woman and her son, you know, he had to drink. Speaking of sleepers, they had to drink urine at a sleep. Did you see that story? Yeah. That was terrible. You know, the kid was, he was bullied by his friends at school and then at a sleepover because the bully showed up. That's the other thing that I think is important for messaging too. Don't be part of the crowd that just, you know.
Don't be an a-hole.
Like an instigator. Yeah. Okay. So I'm wondering now, because I think one of my favorite things now about being an adult is like my adult friendship with my parents. Yeah. So it's so hard when we're teens, right? But then you hit a certain age, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, but where you're just like, A, I need you, I need your help, I need your advice, and B, like, you're one of my favorite people on this earth because you know me so well and you've helped me become who I am. What is that like at this point with your kids? And have you noticed just kind of that next stage of parenting? Sure.
And I can tell you this, no matter how bad it gets during those teenage years where you just kind of go round and round and you're thinking, who is this child? They come back. Yeah. And I've definitely experienced that with all of my boys, you know, and since they turned 17, 18, and certainly into their 20s and 30s. Again, because their mom was a much better parent, I think they go to her for really like financial advice. And,
but they probably want to go to like games with you and talk about the coaching job.
We talk about that. You know, with my oldest son, we talk about employment a lot, you know, and, you know, the whole job scene and then, you know, and the work atmosphere, which has really changed here the last year or so. Yeah. So, and that part of it's great to see that come around. And I remember that with my own parents having finally the most meaningful conversations with my parents, you know, after I turned, you know, and it's even not sometimes in your 20s, it's in your 30s when you start kind of realizing, okay, we're all on the same page here. And I realize now what you did and sacrificed as a parent and, you know, you have that common ground.
Mm-hmm. So what about, when did you have the sex talk?
Again,
Emily's making him sweat today. Will you pass that?
Julie does.
You still got some.
I still got some. I was terrible at that. I didn't, you know, I just had very short talks and very general. I was awful at it. And my wife was so much better at it. I do think we
need your wife to come into our house and help us out.
She would. Like she'd be great. She'd be much better than me. And, you know, I'm such a procrastinator. And she would say, have you had that talk? No, but you know, it's probably tomorrow. You know, we're going through the game. We'll talk about it. Did you talk about it? No, not really. I mean, we did, but
so awkward to even bring up.
It is. I was terrible at it. I know,
but especially I feel like
have the talk.
Yeah, because with girls, you're like you've got to stand up and say no if no means no, all that kind of stuff. And boys,
I did have that talk. I did have that talk about listen. Always be respectful and know the boundaries. And no does mean no. And you're not ready for some of the things that you may see now that you're in high school and hear about, and take it from someone who used to be in those, and they don't believe you, you know. Hey, I used to hear the same locker room talk. Don't take that outside of the locker room. Right. If they're talking about somebody or they say they did something, they probably didn't. Mm-hmm. And I did have those talks, which I think was a good perspective from me as a guy, but no, I was terrible. Awful.
Mom game business idea. So what we need to do is make some sort of video. It's not us talking, but bring someone in, just like a random person, to give the talk. Give the talk about sex, to give the talk about drinking, all these things we don't want to talk about. And when you feel like your kid's ready for the talk, you set them down and you're there, you're watching, and then you turn it off, and then they look at you and you say, "I'm here if you have any questions." But you don't have to do the talk.
It's true.
Right.
Brought to you by the Mom Game.
Here's a video with Soroy and Grooves. You're going to love this.
Gosh,
I'm going to
can you
explain to you.
But there is something to be said for it. We had a girls' Bible study or something, and we were talking about, and one of the moms said, the thing about that is you want to be the expert in your kids' eyes. That's why you need to take control of that conversation.
We can't pawn that off on a stranger.
Soroy doesn't need to be telling our kids about the birds and the bees.
No, that was a bad idea.
Do a decent job.
I'm sure.
That was a bad idea.
Can you imagine? Okay, kids. So
here's the deal.
here's the deal.
It's just kind of a thing. And the way Soroy is, he's hilarious.
He is. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about with you, because you've been so kind to let me sing with your band a couple of times.
We have common ground. Julie's like my only ally who likes Texas music at the Tech. Everyone else.
I like Texas.
I know. You're with me. I know you're with me.
I love Texas country music. I mean, Pat Green, and growing up in Austin, like a lot of these guys came to Antone's and came to the places in Austin. And once I was able to be dropped off somewhere, it was like, hey, drop me off at this concert. And it was so fun. I saw Pat Green, I don't know, 20 times. And then I remember he came to Columbia, Missouri when I was at school, and I got to show all my Missouri friends that didn't know who he was. I was like, let's go to the Blue Note and catch Pat Green.
The Blue Note.
Yeah, the Blue Note was fun.
That's where all the Texas bands go up there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I love that side of you, and I'm had so much fun getting to sing. I've never gotten to sing with a band.
Are you a good singer?
Not really.
Yes, she is.
I mean, no.
I bet you are.
I'm not.
I bet you're way better than I am.
No, I'm not. He was just humoring me. Like, I can sing a little bit.
No,
it was fun. It was fun. So I'm wondering, like, A, how your interest began with all of that, and B, why you decided as an adult, to kind of embark on that and form a band. And
it was weird.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another thing and maybe you're almost to the age where you're starting to go through this. I was mid 40s, I guess. And my parents had passed, and it was just a real transition time for me. It's just like, what's going on in my life right now? Where am I? Where am I going? And we moved out of Coppell. We moved out to the country, and back then it was country. Argyle was Bartonville, but it's changed in the last 15 years. But I've always loved music, grew up playing violin or fiddle, and then started playing guitar and bass in high school. Was in a terrible band called Pegasus. And,
Pegasus.
We were terrible, but I always loved music. And then I started listening to people like Randy and Pat and the whole Texas music scene. And Randy just really hit me.
Yeah.
I just
you connected.
Yeah. I mean, all of a sudden it reminded me of Buck Owens when I was 5 years old. My brother was playing that, or, Jerry Jeff Walker, Willie. It also reminded me some of the Beatles. That's the thing about Texas country. It's really rock.
It is.
With
That's why I love it.
A little bit of a twist, and some of it's boot scooting country. There's no doubt you can two-step to it. But when Randy goes into 10 Miles Deep, that is a kick-ass rock and roll song. When I'm dead, put me 10 miles deep. It's just
like it.
Love it.
Banging drum and sorry for the audio.
I know, I've been doing that too.
But and it just hit me, and I started thinking, okay, I tried to write one time in college, wrote a couple songs and we found the tape too. It's awful. It's so bad.
That's got to be gold.
It's cringy. It's so cringy. But I started thinking, why don't I try writing again? And this actually is related to a sports personality, Lou Holtz. I saw an interview with him once, and I'm not necessarily a big Lou Holtz or Notre Dame fan. But when he got fired at Notre Dame, he said he sat down and he made a list of everything that he wanted to do the rest of his life. I said, that's a pretty good place to start for a middle-aged guy. So I did. And one of the things was, I want to write at least one song, and I want to get a band together again and play at least one gig.
That is so cool. What age was this? 40, mid-40s.
Mid-40s. I was like 40.
Yeah.
I was like 43-ish, 42-ish, somewhere in there. And so I sat down, and one of the first songs I wrote was Words for My Heart. And that's the opening line. I sat down and made a list of everything that I want to do. And I thought of every gift that I've ever given to you. And that's what got me started. And I said, well, that's a pretty good start, you know? And next thing you know, there's a few more songs. And I ran into a guy who used to work at the Ticket, Steve Porcari, now a master brewer at Four Corners Brewery. And I knew him from back when I was doing North Texas games. At one point, he was in the booth with us. Ran into him one night and I said, I got a crazy idea. I started playing guitar, started writing, and we are not on the same musical page, okay? He's a Fish, Grateful Dead fan. We have Neil Young in common. He likes some country, but he's, you know, groovy, hippie kind of guy. But I did go see Randy Rogers live and said, you got to have a hippie in your band. So I said, okay. I first recruited Steve.
I know a hippie.
I know a hippie. And I said, I've started writing music and I'm thinking about putting a band together, just maybe to play one gig. And before I could even, I'm in.
How fun.
And so he got a couple of guys together and we went to the old transmitter site in Coppell and we started playing. And what do you want to play? And I said, I don't know. Here's a couple of Randy songs that I know. And we played that. And Travis, who plays bass, started coming in with harmonies, and Pablo on drums with harmonies. And he goes, well, what do you got? Because I used to go out there when he was in another band.
Yeah.
And I had written like one song, then I played for them. They liked it and they actually ended up recording it. But I said, well, I got a couple of them. And we started playing. They go, well, what else you got? I said, oh, okay, I got this one. I had like 3 songs. And they go, this is great. Let's go do a gig and let's play a couple years and we'll play some Neil Young, we'll play some Randy. And I thought it'd be a one-time deal, but I had so much fun. And I'm sure we were terrible. And I had a hard time making it through a set then. You know, I had to have like the chord progressions written down and I was a mess. I barely knew how to get my guitar plugged in. But I had so much fun. You've never done it before,
yeah.
And this is going to sound weird, but I really think it was some kind of like weird calling.
Uh-huh.
You know, like there was a voice saying, do this.
Yeah.
So I did it. And once I did it, I kept writing and we kept getting together and the songs started sounding better and better. And then I realized, okay, but I don't have time for this. I got a full-time job. I got kids. I don't have time to be in a band. But then it occurred to me, what if you did it for a reason? And that's when Jub Jam started. And that's when Shoot for the Stars started in Argyle. And, you know, now all these years later, that was around 2010-ish, 11. Now all these years later, our little band, the Bird Dogs, between Jub Jam and all these other events, we've raised like $700,000 for charity.
That's
wow.
Well done.
So it was a, you know, call, and now some of the songs are getting played on the radio. I've been able to write with Pat. And,
yes. We have a sample of the latest one.
Okay.
A little bit of love.
Yeah.
It's
There's a cool story behind this.
I
too,
love
yeah.
Jay. If you've got that ready, we can show everybody what this song sounds like. I don't know if they'll see the video or not, but we have the video too.
Okay.
So this is one that, so the Prophets and Outlaws are another band that you're friends
of
with.
mine. Yeah. Friends of mine.
And how did it work? You went to them to cover it. You wrote it with Pat. You went to them, or how did that all work out?
Pat actually called me because we've become decent friends now. And he called me one day. This is after we wrote Till the Last Whistle Blows. He had called me a couple years ago and said, hey, a guy who's doing a movie wants me to write a song about high school football. I know you know high school football. What do you think? And we wrote that song. And he and I wrote that together.
Mm-hmm.
So then time passes by, and like 6 months later, he calls me up out of the blue, said, I got an idea for a song. Okay. I said, I just hit a shot, and my buddy said, hey, a little bit of that would go a long way. What do you think about that? Like a little bit of luck could go a long way. I said, how about a little bit of love? He goes, that's great. I said, okay, see ya. And so I started, and immediately I heard the hook that you're about to hear. I heard in my head immediately. And I always wondered about that because songwriting can be a real struggle. But Willie Nelson says that you just have to reach out and grab them. There's melodies out there. And I heard in my head, little bit of love goes a long way. And so I had that, and my friends, the Prophets and Outlaws, I heard kind of a funky Rolling Stones meets, I don't know, something kind of Motownish, you know, and that's their sound. They're Texas soul. And so I went to Matt and I said, this is the idea. And we had this great conversation of what's a little bit of love? And again, bring my parents back into this. I thought, well, how about back in 1947 when my mom met my dad in Columbia, Missouri. Mm-hmm. My dad is a Missouri grad.
Nice.
She went to the little college called Columbia up there, and that's where they met.
I remember it.
Look what that created. That little bit of love created 5 kids, 14 grandkids, great grandkids, and it all started back then. And then the idea of, and this was before all hell broke loose. This was like 2 years ago, and or a year and a half ago, and what about in everyday life? That person that you normally ignore who walks right by you, doesn't look like he's having a good day, or she. Why not smile at them? Or when you hear that someone's in need, why not take that extra step, do something for them? And that little bit of love, maybe that pick me up that day prevented that guy from having a worse day. Or maybe that gift, that meal that you provided for that family made all the difference, just that little bit. So it was a really cool concept when we started talking about it. And then we wrote it in like 30 minutes or so, and then we just let it sit. And I pitched it to Pat. Pat liked it. He already had like 50 songs, though, for his next album. And so he wasn't going to put it on his album. I said, well, would you mind if the Prophets and Outlaws recorded it? No, I wouldn't mind that. And because it was his idea, with a little bit of love and everything. And he said, and tell him this, I'll sing on it. So I called Matt and said, hey, Pat wants to sing on it. What do you think? Hell yeah. So in January, Panhandle Studios in Denton, I was just a bystander, just listening. I made a couple suggestions, but I didn't play on it. I didn't sing on it. I just co-wrote it. But man, the Prophets and Outlaws and Pat to me sounds like a Motown singer on this, I mean, he's just,
it's a really cool take on his, on what he's got. Yeah. I agree.
It turned out
do you
great.
have the song? Are you there? Or did you
I see the boys there at the Dallas Skyline.
Here we go. So this is it. Were you at the shoot?
No, I decided not to go down and do that. But they got I helped set it up on that rooftop there. And that's what the first verse is about, is about, hey, we're all in such a hurry, but all this, it's not going to mean anything at the end. And we came up with that line, listen to each other. Isn't that what everyone was saying like 6 months ago?
Yeah.
That's what we wrote down 2 years ago. Can't you just reach out and grab that melody,
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of love
goes a long way. I flare my nostrils when I sing.
That's okay.
It's not good.
I remember when it started.
Then that just, and the fiddle comes in, it's like, hell yeah, here's Pat.
Like a big reveal,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
I know that I was
It looks like did he record it at home? Like in a.
No, that's at the studio. That's
Pat,
at the
okay.
Panhandle. Yeah. I love this line here, too.
feel good about myself. You understand?
I feel like Pat's voice has gotten better as he's gotten older.
Yeah. It's
there's like
got that
another
maturity
dimension to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
That's a good point, Em.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goes a long way.
Well, Jeb, I love it.
How
I
to
think
heal
it's
my soul and
fantastic.
speak to my heart. I mean, that's just...
I love it too. So is it playing on radio stations?
It's out there.
and
Yeah,
stuff?
we're getting spins. They are. I say we. I feel like I have
you wrote
ownership in it.
I mean,
How
the
could you
boys.
write a song and not feel like you have ownership?
There's a senior source about to come up here. There's my friend Dana Gage. There's a senior source.
Oh, cool.
And there's all these nonprofits here. My friend Randy Bowman, who started At Last and served Denton, who does incredible work. But yeah, we're getting spins now. They got a rep who's getting them spins around Texas. And my dream is that it's going to shoot the charts and it's going to be such a hot Texas song that it goes nationwide. And you're going to see me at the Grammys next year dressed up as a pimp.
I love it.
Why not?
Yes.
I think it's got the legs. I
Yeah.
think it could do it.
Thanks.
What I love about that is just kind of even to wrap everything up. It's like you were able to use the ticket, right? To kind of get the platform.
Yeah.
And then you were able to find a genuine cause that really is near and dear to your heart that you care about. Loop that in with your hobby that you love that
Yeah.
helps you find happiness at a certain point in your life where everyone's kind of looking for that extra thing. You hit a lull. I mean, you do around your
Yeah.
30s and your 40s. And then you're able to create an awesome song and put it
How
all
about that?
together. And I just love that. I
That's
love how it
sweet.
all came
That's a-
together
that's a
for
sweet
you.
way to
We
wrap
could
that
only
up.
hope that we can do something
Absolutely.
like that.
And I feel like I need to go home and
Well,
make
you
a
are.
list.
You're doing this.
a list.
Do it. Make that
That's
list.
what this is.
Okay,
It's like
but
a
That's what
passion
this is,
project.
right? You guys sat down and thought, hey, let's do this.
But
and you're doing it.
I wanted to make an observation just as someone who's listened, like I said, for the last 17 years that I've been here. I've noticed that as time has gone on, and this reminds me of my dad. Like the older you get, the more sentimental and feely. Like my daddy was this like tough, stern, but like at the end of his life, I mean, like as he got older, he became this like mushy.
Yeah.
Like cry at movies, like
know.
you know what I mean. And
That's
I've
me.
heard you on the
Yeah, I
radio
know.
talking about things, but I
pump myself up to do not get emotional. Do not
But
cry.
let me
Let's
tell
go.
you something. I adore it. I think
I
it
think
is
a lot of people
so
do.
genuine. I think there was something that happened just this week. You getting emotional about getting the vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was fine until the guy was waving the American
Yes.
flag. I was like, yeah.
I felt the exact
Yeah.
same way. It was
I know.
really cool.
But I was so happy for myself. And I heard you talking about that. It was like an emotional experience.
Yeah.
And it was. And it make you proud. Yeah, we can all come together.
Yeah.
We're all different
We're
people
all
here.
finally
and we're
working
all-
towards
Yeah.
one
You're
cause.
writing down names and you're directing traffic and you're.
It does make you so proud.
doing
Like
the needle?
because
Yeah.
I went with my mom to get hers. And
Oh, I bet that was
just,
cool. Yeah.
she's been so worried about it and the
Yeah.
grandkids and what can she do and what can't she?
Sure.
And so seeing her be able to get it, I was
Yeah.
so excited. I escorted her there to make sure that everything went okay. It was so seamless and so easy. And then I got mine and I was just there's a sense of relief and
Yeah.
to see the way that everybody's dialed in and everybody's where, I just felt like, I thanked every person that
too.
you
I
did too.
came in contact
Thank you.
with.
Thank
yeah.
you.
And here's the deal. And then, because we'll get comments about, you're sheep, whatever, because you're
Okay.
getting.
Yeah, we
and
gotta put a quick label on
here's-
someone,
Right.
yeah.
And so, but here's the deal. If you don't want to get it, that's fine. That's also your right.
Right,
That is, you're
sure.
absolutely your right. But
I would prefer you do just to protect the
would be
other people.
nice,
But,
but
yeah,
whatever.
If you don't want to, don't do
then,
it.
right. But but also too, just let, can we just enjoy a good
Yeah.
moment or
Yeah. You know,
I
and
don't know.
everything we say, we always get negative feedback,
yeah.
no matter what it is. You could talk about
my
helping
gosh.
a dog, survive being hit by a car, and you should have left it there and
Yep.
let nature take its course.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess that was another option. But when I talked that day, I didn't get one negative tweet or email, and I was waiting
Good.
for it to kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, get ready for your wiener to fall off in 3 years, or whatever.
Enjoy your third nipple, dude.
Yeah. Which I think I would actually enjoy that. But
Hey, anything to keep life exciting at this point.
at this
Bring it
point we
on.
need excitement. But I didn't get one, and I think most people who went through the experience like y'all did were like,
Yeah.
that was badass. That
It's
was
badass.
amazing. It was so efficient. And all we heard is, you can't. They can't do this. They can't roll it out fast enough. Well, man, they're cranking it out
They're
now. We're
trying
up
as
to-
hard as they can.
Yeah.
Yes, and how about you were bitching, but have you volunteered yet? I
Yeah.
haven't. I want to now after seeing
Yeah.
those volunteers at Texas Motor Speedway. It makes me want to go out there and pass out coffee and help.
And here's the deal: like, I just wish that Julie, I've talked about this a million times. That let someone enjoy their moment, whether or
Right.
not like. I don't know. Rather than like when Abbott did the mask mandate, and then like you got people spiking the football. Hell yeah, we're
Yeah.
back open, bitches.
Yeah.
And then you've got other people freaking the f out, and it's
Yeah.
like, can we just? I don't
Like,
know.
let's-
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
can we not spike the football? But also, too, can we not
we not
be?
say
Can we
the
not
state of the
freak out
world?
that
Yeah.
we're
I know.
letting businesses decide? Can we just?
That's a good one. I need
know?
to do a better job of that, letting other people enjoy whatever their joy is.
Right. And so, I mean, I have friends that aren't going to get the vaccine and they're not like, yeah, you're such a lame-o or whatever, but,
Yeah.
the social, but dude, social
Just
media.
do whatever.
Yeah, I
You
know.
know how Matthew McConaughey's line is, just keep living?
Yeah,
I think ours should be just stop bitching.
Just stop
I
bitching.
like it.
I mean,
JSB. We're going to make hats.
Just stop bitching.
Just stop bitching. I don't care what side you're on.
That would
Just
go-
stop
that
bitching
would
because
help.
it's not going to help. It's not going to help anything. George, oh my gosh,
this
we've
was
covered
great.
so
This was
many
so much
different
fun.
things.
And before we go,
Yes, ma'am.
you said you shamelessly asked to come on this show. I'm going to
did.
shamelessly ask to come. Bands
Let's
of
come
your
on.
life.
Okay.
Oh my gosh,
Let's
you
do
have
it.
an
I feel like, you've got like Randy
know.
Rogers to
know.
Biggie Smalls over here. Like
Really? Okay.
Eazy-E, I run the gamut.
All right, we need to bring you on.
And so I think that
or
you
we
would,
just need to have you on Talk Rangers.
yeah.
Something.
Anything.
need to have you
So
on.
Life
I'm
and Rangers.
shamelessly.
The more Emily, the better.
Yes, I agree.
I don't know about that.
I agree.
But this was
Are
fun.
you going to be back at the park? Can I ask a
I am
business
going to be.
question?
I am
Okay,
going to
good.
be. I'm not traveling as of right now, but I
Okay.
will be back at the park.
But the guys aren't traveling either, right?
No,
guys
Dave
in
and
the booth.
CJ.
Yeah,
No, we
they're
are
not
no
traveling
travel. No travel
That's
for
so
any
weird.
of us. It is so weird.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't know how they do a game like that.
My family's really tired of me. I'm just kidding.
That's impossible.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
no way. They
Okay. Well,
love you.
cheers, George. We
Cheers.
appreciate it. We're going to
Thank
cheers, and then
you.
we have to end with our signature mom game out. And you got to
What is it? Oh,
throw up
what is
a
it, the
deuce.
mom game out?
Mom game out. Throw up
Mom
a
game
deuce.
out.
Mom game out.